Today, me and my brother are down in Loo fishing off his rib. We've got a 40 horsepower engine on the back to get out to the reef in no time, and we're fishing around 10 to 8 miles out to sea. We're going to be fishing around 40 to 50 meters of water, and we've got some big lures to see what action we can get on. Right, we have managed to motor out to the reef and we are dropping our first drop on this section of the reef. As it's our first drift, we just kind of got into the very center of the reef and we're letting the tide, the wind move around the rib and working out exactly which way we're drifting, so that in the future, on the next drift, we can work out exactly where to position the boat and drift over the perfect ground that we want to fish. As you can see from this clip, what I'm doing is dropping my lure right down to the bottom and just doing some really slow retrieves with a little bit of motion on that lure, and it doesn't take long to find the first fish of the session. This was the first drop and instantly onto a fish.
That feels real weird. Oh, whoa, he woke up. He woke up.
Well, as usual, Morgan's into the first fish of the day. What did you say? It felt a bit unusual, didn't it?
Felt really unusual.
When it first took, it was just
Felt like almost like a squid pulling it.
squid pull, yeah.
And then just went on a massive run. Really
That's
bizarre.
always a good sign. When you feel like you got a bite, you just sort of like you get a feel for what a pollock is, and you get a feel for what a wrasse is, and so on. And then every now and then you get something that pulls a bit different, and you're like, oh, what could that be?
Exactly like this fish. Exactly like this fish.
As you guys would have seen at the start here, this fish took this lure really bizarrely. No action at all, no big run at the start, and then started fighting a bit harder on the way up. I was really puzzled at the start of this fight at what this fish could have been.
Really bizarre fight, mate. Really bizarre. Feeling some good weight though.
We are not really strictly on the reef anymore. We're more over the clean ground, so I'd be surprised. We're in 27 meters of water.
I'm really interested to see what fish this is.
Yeah, that's quite nice. It's not like your future dream though, is it?
Nope. Not fighting breamy at all, to be honest.
Dreamy, yeah.
First drop anticipation definitely had me going on this fight. I was really excited to see what fish this was, and to be honest, I didn't think it was a pollock.
Because I don't really fancy them. But it's September, yeah, anything is possible.
Anything is possible. It's that month.
Anything can happen this time of year. That's the best thing about it. You just do not know what is swimming down there.
Oh, what is that?
Now you can get the net out. It's like a big pollock.
It does.
Yeah.
It does indeed look like
Big
a
old
big pollock.
Maybe not the net.
Didn't take a single pollock run though, did it? Didn't take a single run like a pollock.
Not a bad sized fish then, man.
Not a bad
If
size
that's
one.
the average stamp that we're in for today. We don't mind that.
Won't be complaining.
Yes.
As my brother rightly says, if that's the average size fish of the day, we will not be complaining. I was not expecting to pull up a pollock, but for a first fish of the session, I'll definitely take this slab of a pollock.
Alright, quick one for the camera, because this guy's come up from 50 meters out of water. Quick hole in the belly, push out as much air from the air bladder as possible. And then just gonna give him a good send on my back. Lovely.
Well, the action was definitely there on the reef. You guys will see it a little bit later on in this video, but the birds were feeding, dolphins were feeding, we believe we even saw tuna feeding, and there was a load of bait underneath the boat. I was dropping down this 66 gram big lure and even catching mackerel on the way down. As you can see, this
Mackerel.
big jumbo mackerel slammed that big 66 gram lure, and that's a big lure for a mackerel to take. However, we're not looking for mackerel today, so got that one back. This clip shows you exactly what I'm talking about. You can see loads and loads of birds in the air 8 miles out from the shore, and also dolphins going crazy feeding on the surface. And we also believe we saw a couple tuna bust ups while out there. When fishing a reef this far out, this time of the year, you often find that you're dropping down lures and you're constantly getting nice hits, and then it just drops off around mid-water. And me and my brother have definitely figured out that there's a load of squid on this reef. So what I'm doing is I'm just flicking up the squid jig there, just up in the tide, dropping it down, and then letting it sink right down to the bottom. These squid jigs are around 40 grams. So when you're fishing in around 40 meters of water, you can get away with getting down to the bottom there. And as you can see, I'm just keeping my rod tip right down to the water and a slow, gradual wind, keeping constant pressure on my rod. And we definitely managed to find the squid that were causing us all these problems. Surprisingly enough, I was actually really happy to be catching these squid out here, because these are the perfect bait for those long winter sessions on the estuary. So to get a few squid now saves us a few pounds later on. The pros of chucking down a squid jig on a big reef system like this is that fishing with those umbrella hooks on the bottom, there's not just squid that you can target, there's also cuttlefish. In my opinion, cuttlefish is just as good, if not better, of a bait than squid. The skin is a bit firmer and definitely stays on the hook a bit better.
Right,
and
really green
cuttlefish get some really decent size. As you'll see, this cuttlefish is fairly good size and also make a really good bait for the winter. The brilliant thing about this one cuttlefish is that this one cuttlefish will either do me one 12-hour long big session on the estuary or 2 shorter sessions. So this is absolutely brilliant to be stocking up on while we're out here. Due to these squid jigs being around 40 grams and fishing in quite deep water, we weren't able to fish with these squid jigs for very long, only around half an hour, 45 minutes with the right tide and wind state. But we definitely managed to stock up. As you guys can see, had a lovely number of squid out here, and this is just a couple of the clips. This is exactly how you kill the squid, by the way. You get a kind of chop, and then in the middle of the head, and the whole body will go white, and you know that squid is fully dispatched. We really could not escape the action down here. As you guys can see, the drogue is now out. That's just to the right side of my rod. The way that works is by sitting in the water and then holding loads of water in the drogue, and that basically slows down the drift of the boat. It just counteracts the wind, so it doesn't affect the tide drift. However, when you've got a wind blowing you in a direction faster than the tide's pulling you, definitely a drogue will help you out. To give you guys a bit of an idea, before we put the drogue out, we were drifting around 2.5 knots after the wind picked up. So we put the drogue out and that drift slowed right back down to 1.5 knots when the wind died off a little bit. But that is the perfect speed to be drifting over this reef. And as you can see, we're drifting at the right speed because we're catching fish, so we cannot complain. At this part of the session, we did change up the tactics a little bit. Because we caught the squid on the squid jigs, we decided to go over to an 120 gram kabura jig and then put a strip of squid on the bottom of that kabura jig. And that allows us to find a few different species like this whiting right here. This is a pretty decent sized whiting and would be good eating for anybody that likes eating white fish. However, because we were targeting some different species, this one got returned back. But nice to see a decent sized whiting and not just those tiny pin whiting you normally get plagued with. Here is another one of the interesting clips from fishing with the Kabura jig on the bottom. So what I've found is fishing with this jig and a bit of bait on the bottom is you're almost acting like a lead with a tiny bit of trace down to a hook with a bait on it. So you're almost fishing a bait rod and also a lure rod at the same time. The Kabura jig acting like a lure, and then the squid strip acting like a bit of bait. As you just saw, we had the whiting, that would be in caught on the bait, not the jig. And now we're into another species which is interested in the bait and not the jig. And this one, it's a dogfish. We were not expecting to catch anything like this out here today. So to see a dogfish is always fun because it's another one on the species, and I'm not going to complain about it. As you can see in this clip, we're doing the typical dogfish grab, pinning that tail to his head. These guys have no bones in them, so it's not hurting them, and it allows us to get that sandpapery skin away from our skin and stop us from getting cut. We get the hook out of this dogfish and get this one returned. This part of the video, we really did manage to get on the fish. As you guys would have seen, whiting, dogfish, and also here's another fish from that exact same drift. In the last clip, I was telling you that the Kabura jig works well as a lure and a bait on the bottom at the same time. And seeing the dogfish and the whiting proves it works well for the bait. And here, it proves it works well as a lure as well. As we're bringing this fish up from 50 meters and it's not a bad sized fish, we're taking it nice and slowly, as you can see, just letting that fish kind of acclimatize on the way up, trying to save the air bladder as much as possible and just taking it nice and slow. While fighting this fish, I could tell it wasn't one of those dogfish, wasn't one of those whiting, it's a bit different. So taking a bit of time with it, just trying to preserve that fish as much as possible. I have cut this clip down and shortened this video as bringing this fish up from 50 meters took a long time when you're trying to take your time with the fish and be nice and slow, but we got it to the surface and saw it was a nice sized pollock, and this wasn't a bad pollock. And as you can see, Kabura jig in its mouth still with the squid on it, so it proves that even though we're fishing with bait and a lure, the lure is working just as effectively as always.
Lovely.
Slap, well done.
Lovely stuff. I'm not expecting that to be a pollock. He didn't fight like one either.
Well, no complaints. I wasn't expecting to see a pollock on this part of the reef, but we'll definitely take it and give that one a nice dive back down. Unfortunately, I definitely stopped recording at the wrong time because I put my phone away and then got slammed by a nice small ling, which gave me a lovely little scrap up to the boat. I got this one returned, however, I didn't get it on camera. So what I've done is I've got this clip from my brother.
All right, so I've emptied the air out of the fish and got him on the weight, and it's just enough now to send him down. And we can usually see the fish going down on the sounder. So, I mean, I think really once you get them below 20 meters, it gives them a good chance of going back. I usually sort of like to get them at least halfway down to the bottom, and then, well, I'll show you what we're going to do. There are actually proper devices for doing this, but we haven't got one with us today, so yeah, we just having to sort of jury rig it ourselves. All right, he's probably about sort of 30-40 meters down right now, so all I'm going to do is bring that across, and there we go. Literally, it seems brutal, but I'm just give that rod a good yank, and because it was in a really soft fleshy part of the mouth, it pulls it out, and hopefully he gets to swim back down to the bottom and reproduce, because ling, well, there's a few around, but it'd be nice to sort of see even more of them. And yeah, there we go. Back it goes, and it's not going to be seafood.
This drone shot right here does really well at reinforcing what I was saying earlier on in the video about all the life out here on the reef. As you can see, There's tons of birds in the air looking to dive bomb on that next bait shoal, and there's tons of dolphins on the surface smashing the bait from below. This reef was filled with life. Just look at all these dolphins in the water feeding, and there was bait shoals below the boat all day. Me and my brother could even see these small poor bait fish getting slammed by the dolphins and jumping out of the air to try and get away from them. We do believe we saw a couple of tuna bust-ups while out there today as well, which was absolutely epic to see, but watching these dolphins is just as cool. Dolphins feeding all around, birds diving from above, and bait shoals all below the boat. This is a paradise for us anglers, and as you can see, there's me and my brother out on the rib fishing and getting in all of the action. This was a paradise for us and a really lovely day to be out on the water. I was really happy to be able to join my brother on this session, and to get on some cracking fish was really fun. I will let you sit back and enjoy the rest of these drone shots without any interruption, because this is a stunning day out on the water, and just taking in the sea life was absolutely amazing.
Taking our time, going nice and steady, as we're fishing in around 40 meters of water at the moment, 50 meters of water to 40 meters of water reef, and these fish can struggle with bow trauma coming up, so just taking it nice and slow gives the fish the best chance at survival. And once we get them up, we'll also try and remove the air from the air bladder before sending them down.
While I'm bringing the rest of this fish up, I just want to say the Kabura jigs were definitely the lure of the session. We had whiting, dogfish, wrasse, cuckoo wrasse, ling, and a few other species on the Kabura jigs. However, we switched up to the soft plastics, and I did get this decent size pollock.
Now another lovely size pollock.
Yeah, that's a slab.
The big ones are definitely here on this part of the reef. Look at that. It's a lovely pollock.
Nice colour.
Right, let me grab him real quick, everybody. Well, there you go. So what I was saying, for these fish now, I'll just put a little hole in the top of his belly here with the hook, and then squeeze out as much of the air from the air bladder as possible. There we go, and then you guys can see, lovely sized pollock.
After releasing that pollock, we stayed on that part of the reef for another half an hour or so and had a few more pollock. We've kept a few for the dinner table because they can be really nice eating when prepared correctly. However, as you can see, the sun was going down and it was time to get back in to the shore.